Crypto had some big moments this last week.
President of the United States announced that there will be a American crypto reserve strategy and listed out several crypto assets to be included in the national stockpile. Bitcoin, Ethereum, Solana, randomly Cardano.
The announcement was quite funny because he did not announce that Bitcoin and Ethereum would be in the reserve. He just named all the Trump McPoor coins. And so hilariously, these things then fucking ripped for a day.
I think that's a pretty accurate description of not just of crypto actually, but probably of the stock market more broadly in some ways.
The good news is we now have a price on what Trump the influencer will cause in terms of a bump in the market. It actually kind of showed the resiliency of the system.
That's the question of the year. Is Trump make rich or Trump make poor?
I think the honest answer is who knows? Well, hello, friends. Welcome to another episode of More or Less. March edition. We're in March. We made it.
Hey, guys.
Dave, can you talk to us about your hat?
It says, make startups weird again. It was given to me by a associate candidate that I was interviewing for offline ventures.
Do you think he printed 10 of those for different meetings? Or do you think it's that's his thing?
I probably am not the only one with this hat, but I agree with it. We need to make startups weird again.
I agree.
I've been learning about some weird startups. I just can't publish it yet, unfortunately. The worst.
It kind of goes to Sam and I's make the internet fun again with all of our, Solana degen activity over the last few weeks.
The key word on all this is again. Mm-hmm. We got Digg again. Everything is an again right now. We're basically in the supercycle of again.
This is the super again cycle.
Once more, you've got NFTs again.
Wait, NFTs are back?
Kind of meme coins. Everything's an again.
Okay, got it.
I have a theory.
Let's hear your theory.
Okay. The theory is around 2014-ish is when we hit critical mass of 1 billion people on social media and 1 billion people on smartphones. Since then, it's been really hard to create a meaningful brand that lasts more than a drop in the bucket for a couple of years.
The Brit brand theory.
This is the Brit brand theory. However, brands built prior to that era, especially in non-tech categories, so think CPG, beauty, retail, etc., still can flourish. In fact, what's old is new again. And that's related to everything from music, like the Backstreet Boys are playing at the Sphere, and, older brands that are having comeback. Private equity firms are buying IP from the 90s and reinventing these brands.
I'll give you another again, which is I was at one of these many conferences this week. Media conference with Muckety Mucks.
Sam was at a ski conference.
That's what I do, is ski conferences this time of year.
That's the only thing that we do, Jess. Come on.
There's always a really good quiz in it. And I have to say, my team, I was very upset. We were one question away from winning the quiz. I'm very upset that we did not win the quiz. We lost on an easy question. I'm very upset we lost. But I'll tell you the question.
Wait, there was a quiz game? You were at a conference where you were doing a quiz instead of playing poker?
It's great. And so in this quiz game, we were tied first place. There was a tiebreaker question. We lost it. I'll actually give it to you and you'll see if you get it. But we got smoked on it. And it's a funny one for us. But before we get to that, one of the questions was, of the top 50 most used songs on TikTok, what percentage of them were made more than 5 years ago? Or how many of the 50 were more than, and this is to the nostalgia point.
Oh, so it's greater than I think because it's nostalgia.
Yeah. So it must be that 80% are older than 5 years.
It's not that's too
60.
No, I anchored you guys in a way that made you go too high. But 20 of 50, right, are older than 5 years, and a lot of them are super old because there's this whole super cycle around nostalgia going on, even in TikTok short videos. Now, for the question we lost on we got smoked on this. It's wasn't even close. How many dollars in market cap did Nvidia lose the day after DeepSeek? Don't look it up.
Wasn't it 10% of their market cap?
How many dollars?
Yeah.
What's their market cap? Am I directionally right?
I'm going to say 200 billion.
Yeah, it's like 200 to 300 billion.
450.
So Brit and Jess, you guys would have gotten smoked just like us. Our guess was 10%, and we guessed 300 million. It was actually closer to 600 million. So Dave, you are the victor. If you had been with me, we would have won. We would have won.
I'm also remembering that we talked about it on the pod and that the total market loss was around 1 trillion. So the question is, and how much of that?
More than half of it was just Nvidia. But anyway, so we're in a nostalgia super cycle.
Okay, great. Sam, anything else you learned from this muckety muck gathering you want to share with the crowd?
I'll give you one other tidbit I thought was very interesting, which is, and I'm sure this is public information, so I'm not spilling any beans here. How many people actually watch the NBA?
Oh, it's not that many. You mean like live games? Or
I mean, we've been talking about this. The whole thing's going down.
This is in the back channel.
It's like 1 million people.
Yeah, it's really small.
Like, it turns out that like no one actually watches.
I thought it was like 3 or 4 million a game.
No one watches this stuff. And this is the other thing, is like live sports, everyone talks about it, but like actually no one watches it.
No one watches it live anymore.
Well, and Super Bowl is like 50 million though.
For one game.
And again, I have no footnotes here, but I just directionally speaking, the big upshot is that people watch live sports a heck of a lot less than you think they do.
Well, but also that is true in terms of like individual NBA games, but also the overall viewership across YouTube, social media, like sports is still driving a huge percentage of the engagement in media.
Yeah, Sam, I just looked it up. An average of 1.6 million viewers per game.
There's nothing. It's nothing, right? And so the basic point is that people watch TikTok. They subscribe to soccer players on Instagram. It's not like that sports isn't in the culture, but the actual live viewership of these things, which are so valuable, is like completely de minimis.
NBA finals were 11.3 million.
Which again, in the spectrum of social media and internet scale, these are very small numbers.
It's also interesting to see what's bigger, though. I mean, it's basically like the only thing bigger, though, was probably award shows, season finales of Yellowstone.
It's short form video. It's TikTok. It's people don't watch live things, right? Like in our heads, this is like the big driver. It's worth so much money. All the live. People don't really watch this stuff.
Well, actually, I will combat that because the Oscars, which were held this past weekend, had about 20 million viewers. And in fact, I actually saw a bunch of headlines on this. It's not just what I'm looking up right now, but it was largely driven by younger audiences. The ratings among 18 to 49-year-olds rose by 20% this year, and 18 to 34-year-olds increased by 28%.
Are they just saying that?
No, I think it's because they actually stream them now. I feel like all of the award shows have figured out the streaming game. They used to like only put it on Paramount Plus or something and where you had to have a subscription. And now they're just flooding all the streaming networks and putting it on linear. So people are getting more audience.
Well, I'd also say, you know what it is? You ready? It's an again. It's another again. It's like people are back to watching the Oscars again, right? Like it's just, we're in the back cycle. Everyone's just recycling everything now.
I will say, though, on the topic of sports, as I was suffering from the norovirus this week, which I can wish upon no one, I did start Running Point, which is a new series on Netflix.
It's so good.
You guys like it? I don't think Sam would like it.
No, here's the one-liner. Ready? It's Succession meets Ted Lasso with a female lead. That's what it is. That's all it is.
I saw a trailer for this. This is where she like runs a sports team and yeah, I wouldn't like this. It seems like a thing that I like. Why wouldn't I like it?
It's a great feel-good comedy. It's a classic. I mean, the whole trope is classic Mindy Kaling. Everything's Mindy Kaling.
I know. I don't think Mindy Kaling is Sam's type of humor. I feel like she's a little too on the nose for Sam.
She's a little too, feminist, which is...
I am a feminist.
No, a type of your humor. Like your favorite humor is not feminist humor.
Oh, no, it's clearly Shorzy.
What is Shorzy?
Exactly.
Sam, I'm going to give you 60 seconds on Shorzy and then we're moving on. And that's 30 seconds too much.
Shorzy is the finest television program ever made. You're crazy if you haven't seen it. It's about hockey players. You need to watch a little bit of Letterkenny so you can get into Shorzy. But it is the finest part. Even Jessica, the most recent season was not only very funny, but quite heartwarming.
It was heartwarming. I enjoy it too. I'm a fan. It had a lot of feminine energy this season, though.
But I was talking to all these hockey players at the secret conference, and the hockey players had never even heard of Shoresy. It's ridiculous.
That must have been shocking. Okay. So we learned live sports, not as big a thing, even though it's still a big thing in a shrinking pond. TV racks. What else is again? Should we talk about crypto? What is going on?
No, wait, Jess, you just missed the punchline of what's the again. They announced today, Digg is coming back. Kevin Rose is bringing Digg back with Alexis Ohanian, the founder of Reddit, to actually compete with Reddit. And I think it's a little saucy, just to say the least.
Oh, God. Guys, isn't Alexis Ohanian trying to buy TikTok?
Apparently. Yeah, wasn't that the news last night? I love the picture of those two guys. I love them both. It looks like a 90s grunge band.
Okay, so for those of our listeners who are younger than us 40 and almost 40-year-olds, Digg was a website where you sort of upvoted. I think this is what you did, right?
It was just like Reddit.
Well, it's less community oriented.
Thumbs up and down on websites.
Look, I'm into this. I actually think so. I unfortunately, I also have a bunch of information I can't share.
But didn't you build something you launched?
No, I have Tasty, which is my Delicious competitor. So Delicious was great. Delicious was like the first Web2 company. I decided it was time to bring back Delicious, and we've created Tasty.us or Tastiest. And it's great. It's basically AI. It's AI Delicious for saving bookmarks in groups and sharing them with. And it's nice because now with AI, I can auto write the descriptions and tag it properly. It's directionally, I think, correct. We're kind of I like to muck with product. I'm mucking with it. Digg's coming back. Believe it or not, I know of other Web 2.0, early Web 2.0 founders that are effectively relaunching their companies. I was messaging with one today that's well known. You just can't, because the internet has gotten so far away from what we all loved about Web 2 and the social aspects of it, et cetera, that in some ways, like, it's time to build that shit again.
And I would argue, one of the reasons why I think Digg has a chance at combating Reddit is because Reddit's gotten so bloated and big, and now it's public, and it has to like answer to the street and yada, 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 that they can use what's great about AI to do like comment moderation and all these different things like from the ground up and actually make a lot of progress and getting to a better technology platform stack than the current Reddit is in a shorter amount of time with far less people. And so I think a lot of these Web 2 early founders are thinking like, I can actually rebuild that thing way faster that I built before, use the nostalgia element and actually like point in a new direction for the new generation.
So, Brit, I think you're totally right about how quickly you can build all these things. There's a lot. Facebook the original Facebook was built in like a week, right? I'd say that I don't know this, but I assume that Delicious was built unbelievably quickly. It was so simple. Digg is like literally an afternoon hackathon project at this point. And so I think what you're seeing is, to your point, is the cost structure on rebuilding Web 2 is so low. And you have founders like, I really want that back. I mean, the reason I built my Delicious AI thing was I want it, and it's so cheap, I can just build it as personal software, right? Like I don't care what the business model is, right? And like, so I do think there's going to be a super cycle of people being like, I kind of like that thing, I'll just bring it back in various forms. And then some people will be like, look, it's time to like backfill, the piece of the internet that got taken in a different direction. Who's going to rebuild Yahoo?
Is Yahoo? That's easy.
Well, I thought what was interesting was that Kevin Rose for like 6 months, I think the article in the New York Times said, was actually using like AI ads within Reddit to get a lot of the moderators to do like focus groups and stuff about like what made Reddit good or bad. And so even the way that these companies are doing like opposition research on the sort of incumbents is really interesting and new and giving them a lot of context into how to start building the new version.
Yeah, it's kind of like how I use billboards on the 101 to make fun of AI companies instead of
okay. Let's get to that. But first, do these new old new companies have business models? Are they trying to be businesses, or are they?
Who cares?
Okay, that answered my question.
Yeah, the business models are just obvious now, which is that you either run an advertising business, you try to build an audience, or you go direct to consumer. Seems like Digg's probably a advertising model. It's like, this isn't a debate anymore. You're either doing one or the other.
I don't know. How can Digg be an advertiser? They're going to be so subscale. They're not going to have an advertising model. It's going to be like some sort of fucking coin bullshit thing. Like you can't build an advertising model like this. I think you can for sure build.
Are you trying to launch the Digg meme coin here and now?
Let's do it. Let's do it live right now.
For what it's worth, it's not the worst idea I've ever heard.
Guys, we should have a retro party where we can upvote some websites and listen. I don't know. What else did we do?
Well, Gowalla 2.0 came back, but then it didn't totally pan out.
So did Turntable 2.0. Remember Turntable 2.0 came back and didn't work?
Yeah, but it wasn't Turntable. You've got to actually respect the original, right? Like, I really love the Ford Bronco, for example, right now, because it did justice to the original Ford Bronco. Like, you have to do that. You can't make something completely new. It has to actually respect the original.
In terms of, you're right, in terms of car nostalgia, there's another very famous 1980s Jeep that they're bringing back. God, what was it called?
The Scout?
The Scout is coming back. Yeah.
The VW van just came back too, but it's electric now.
I don't know why they aren't calling it the VW van. It has some weird name like ID Buzz or something. I do think that there is a thing where, like, for example, the Land Rover Defender is just awful. Like, the design.
How are we talking about cars?
The design doesn't do justice to the original, whereas the Bronco does.
We're talking about design, Jess.
And I think that you have to really key into the thing that made the nostalgia great in the first place, because if you don't, people, you're not actually pulling people back into the experience and the feeling that they expect from the brand, and they will move on otherwise.
What 2000 to 2014 brand, ideally a tech brand, would you like to see come back?
I got it. MySpace. I want MySpace back.
What about Napster? Let's just rip the music.
Napster is not quite dead. In fact, I know the CEO of it. So Napster, unfortunately, is not dead enough to come back.
I just talked to Sean Fanning yesterday. Yeah.
He's got something else going on. But I think we're probably both tiny investors in it. But the
I love the moments when you guys figure out you're either both in a deal or, more awkwardly, like one is and one isn't and one wanted to be. Like, those are some of my favorite moments.
Yeah,
just saying.
Well, the point is, it's all coming back, and I want to know where Tom is.
Okay, you know what else is coming back? Billboards. Sam.
Oh, I'm very proud of this.
You got the mic to talk about.
Well, I think people should go, if you haven't seen my billboard on the 101 northbound, you should go check it out.
Go for a nice little Saturday afternoon looking for Sam's billboard.
It says, AI is not your moat, and it's the image I shared before of the castle with a burning pile of money around it. And it goes to slow.com/AI, which has a mini game.
Sam, what is your hope on this? What are the leads you're hoping to generate with said billboard?
Well, I got to see what we've got so far. I mean, to me, first of all, I just want it out, and it's an ether thing. All people in the back of their mind saying, "What is that thing? Oh yeah, slow. We should call them." So it's just like putting an image up in it, but it's very imprecise. We are obviously driving towards an email sign up form, and once you sign up for that, I'm going to spam the shit out of you. So basically, that's kind of the plan. Is they call me Spam Lessin, and if you give me your email address, you better believe I'm sending you messages. But yeah, I mean, it's just for fun.
I think our listeners would be interested in the relative ROI and relative spend on this, if you're willing to share.
The relative spend is far smaller than you think.
It's in the low tens.
Oh, it's like barely in the low tens of thousands for a month, and it's like almost nothing. And the ROI is probably terrible, but it's still pretty fucking funny. The ROI is that I get to post on the internet about it, which I think is hilarious.
Yeah. How do we capture the ROI of this, of your media impressions talking about?
Well, for what it's worth, I actually think, now that we have the competency of billboard running, I'm all for, we should do more or less billboards.
Let's go.
People were trying to get me to do, people saw this in the meme coin groups, you need to run billboards for the meme coins. We now have a core competency, which is billboard running.
I have a media placement question. Is the $10,000 significant because of the placement on the 101? And is there a better placement that would be like $20,000?
No, so okay, here's how this works. I'll break it down for you. Its location matters a lot, obviously. There's then obviously the print billboards, which you have to print and you can't change versus the digital, right? And then if you run digital, we're doing a fractional slot. So you can either do both sides of the billboard or one side, and then you can be X. I think they divide it into 8 slots. So you're getting an insertion effectively. So we do the minimum possible spend because this is mostly for lols, right? But it's that's kind of the options you have. And I obviously think putting it on some shitty billboard no one's going to see, that's not funny. What's funny is to put it on a big flashy billboard. But then the joke does not require you to buy the entire billboard all the time. But the upshot is now when you go on the 101, you're going to see AI company, and then us making fun of AI companies, which I believe is our brand.
Well, how long's it up? A month?
A month, and we can change it. So if you have suggestions, we can change it every week.
Can we put the 4 of us jumping out of the castle just for like one day? Just for like a little more or less plug?
No, listen, as you can imagine, my partner, Kevin Colleran, who loves to spend money, is very excited that I've done this. And so if we were to say that we'll pay back a third or a fourth of the budget and we can run a more or less ad, we can get a whole week of our podcast if we want. I don't think Kevin would have a problem with that in a second.
I feel like you and Jess should pick one room in the castle and we'll be on, like you guys are the east side and we're the west side of the castle. It's like a Jets and Sharks situation. Anyway, let's work on the creative. I could be into this.
I don't know. That's interesting. Speaking, by the way, of the 101, I today saw a Waymo on the 101.
I saw that you saw a Waymo.
With a person driving it or a machine driving it?
A self-driving Waymo. There was no passenger because they're clearly testing. But I hear sources say any day they could be opening up the SFO route.
Wow.
That would be amazing if only I didn't live across the Golden Gate Bridge.
Will that make you finally uninstall Lyft, Jessica? You're like Lyft's last remaining customer.
No, I am a very loyal Lyft customer, but I don't start and end my day at SFO. That's the problem.
We live pretty close to SFO. You just walk from SFO.
I could walk to SFO, but it's apparently highway driving is actually easier than city driving, but every once in a while there's some kind of thing. So they're not quite there yet. But
what's the minimum age for a child to be in a Waymo without a parent? And when would you send your child in a Waymo without a parent?
Well, to be clear, we know for a fact that some private schools in San Francisco are going to have Waymo pickups and drop off for kids. Now, whether that's against the rules or not, I know for a fact that has happened. So
yes. We've seen the emails where it's like, if you're sending your kid in Waymo, give this address. It's crazy.
I love it.
Yeah. Well, that's interesting. Okay. So again, should we talk about the news in the journalism world this week? Does anyone care?
Yeah, we do. What happened, Jessica?
Okay. So very sadly, the Wall Street Journal laid off its technology bureau.
What?
Like most of it.
Really?
That's great.
I am not making this up.
What's the story?
So the new editor-in-chief of the Wall Street Journal, Emma Tucker, has been downsizing the newsroom. And when you have a unionized newsroom, one of the things you usually do is you kind of have more widespread layoffs and then you hire back some people. But so they did this overseas, they did this in DC, and this is what they're doing. So I don't think it means they're going to have no technology coverage. But what is really interesting to me is that they are recombining, get this, guys, the media bureau and the tech bureau, which I know, having been the deputy bureau chief of that combined entity at one time, or having been part of that combined entity, and then I was the deputy bureau chief when it was cleaved off again, is a little bit of an again moment. And I think I'm not surprised, but I think it sends a very big signal of how they plan to cover technology. And I think if you look across where the authoritative voices are in any sector, it's by going deeper and by getting more specialized. And that's, I think, what readers really demand. And from, any publication. So I think making tech, combining it and running it out of New York isn't the move I would make. But there's still some great people there and they do great work, but we'll see. And I think it's quite a statement about some of the decisions and challenges in these mainstream newsrooms and how they're trying to balance covering all the things in this crazy news cycle, but also making sure that they're indispensable to readers who are going to crave a lot more expertise and experience than you can get from like general leadership structures. Very weird.
I guess to some extent, we talk about technology, media, and capital on this pod quite a bit, right? So the Trinity are kind of all intertwined these days. So maybe it makes sense.
Yeah, well, tech is entwined with anything, but like I'd combine it with the Energy Bureau before I combine it with my Paramount coverage,
Fair.
Or my Wall Street coverage or my banking coverage. I mean, that is my strategy, to be clear. And
I think right now you combine it with your government coverage, your Washington plus tech.
Right, if they had said San Francisco and Washington were going to be run together, that would have made more sense to me, honestly. But we'll see. They have good people there. and good people running the show. But I think in the bundling, unbundling, or the specialized versus the generalized, I think it shows how it's hard to be all things to all people.
Maybe they'll merge the newsroom and the opinion section.
Right, but only certain opinions, like the Washington Post.
Well, no, the Washington Post has kept them separate.
Personal liberties.
Oh, right. Yes. No, the personal liberties is the opinion section. That things are not going well over there, guys. They're not.
I don't think they're going well across the board.
But you were saying, Jess, you were saying that Wired is crushing it.
Wired's doing a nice job. Yeah.
What's old again? It's another again. Wired is an again.
So Wired, under Katie Drummond, who's awesome, has decided to put almost all their reporters on Doge. Smart move. Paying off.
So that's just generating a lot of traffic, and therefore they're able to build a business that works.
Well, here's the thing. I think they've done some incredible journalism of like really getting inside what the Doge team has done. They've also put what I think is flagrant opinion on the cover of the website and not labeled it as such. And so what I hope they continue to do and what I hope audiences are reacting to is this like really high quality journalism. My concern is that they're seeing a lot of subs a la Washington Post, Democracy Dies in Darkness, that are just sort of amening from an ideological point of view some of the other stuff they're doing.
That seems far more likely.
And that I think would not be as enduring. But they are doing both. That, to be clear, they are doing both. And I think it's a great example. I will also say to the very private listener of these pods, I think you can't discount Anna Wintour's impact on this strategy, because Anna, who is often thought of and known, of course, for Vogue, actually is the editorial director of all of Condé Nast.
Interesting.
And in conversations I've had with her, she has always been very interested in the intersection of tech and policy. And I have no idea what conversations she's had with Katie or not, but it feels like I know it's been an area she's been interested in.
Do you think some designers will make hats that say Wired again? Like a really expensive Wired again hat from like Celine? Is Celine a brand? I heard about a thing called Celine recently.
Welcome, Sam. Welcome
Dior.
to the generation. Yes. Do you know who Gucci is?
Gucky.
Stop. You won't get it. But anyway, it's a good example of a lot of, obviously this is like totally crazy news moments. And I think there are brands that are doing really great work. And then there are legacy institutions where they're still doing great work, but are still really, deck chairs on the ship from a business perspective.
I like the idea of launching a publication that's called Flagrant Opinion. The only problem is people don't know how to spell flagrant.
Well, that's what ChatGPT is for, guys. So anyway, that's news update corner. And thinking of all the journalists affected, because it totally sucks.
Can we talk about the crypto news that happened? Crypto had some big moments this last week. Dave, you want to share?
Has it died yet?
You can't kill crypto.
Oh, Jess.
Okay, where are we?
Dave, why don't you announce this one?
The big news was that on Sunday morning at 10 a.m., the president of the United States announced that there will be a American crypto, what do they call it, Sam? A crypto reserve strategy, and listed out several crypto assets to be included in the national stockpile. And, Bitcoin, Ethereum, Solana, randomly Cardano, which I don't really understand, but
Cardano,
whatever. And I think that's it. What else? What else am I missing, Sam?
So here's what I'd say. This is the way I've been talking about it with people. Is the statement of January was Trump make rich. And everyone liked Trump make rich. Trump make rich was good. In the last month, there was this very surprising Trump make poor. And
yeah, Trump make not rich.
Trump make poor is not a thing people feel good about. And what was happening, especially in crypto, was Trump make poor Trump make poor was really happening. All these numbers were going down and people were feeling sad. And so I guess on Saturday morning or Sunday morning, they decided that'd be a good time to announce a Trump make rich. And they were like, this go down too much. We say thing. And the thing they say, the funny part about the announcement, I guess as someone who really believes in crypto, I'm actually very happy we have people who care about crypto doing this stuff. But like the announcement was quite funny because he did not announce that Bitcoin and Ethereum would be in the reserve. He just named all the Trump make poor coins. We're just like, oh no, Trump make poor. Like we need to like not make that happen. And so hilariously, these things then like fucking ripped for like a day. Like you remember, Jess, you and I were on a chairlift. I was like, oh, Trump make rich. And that was a good chairlift ride.
For like 12 hours.
Yeah, after the next day in Deer Valley, Trump make poor again. And so that's what's been going on. I mean, like, look, I'm happy.
But Sam, can I pause there for 1 second?
Yeah.
I think that's a pretty accurate description of like the highs and lows and emotional, like not just of crypto actually, but probably of the stock market more broadly in some ways.
Yeah, I mean, the next day they let these tariffs go into effect.
Yeah. But I'm wondering, do you really think Trump is like medium term? Do you think that he's going to be fundamentally different for the industry, or is it?
So there's a few things. First of all, the market is it kind of like chilled the fuck out and mostly returned to where it was, and in some ways you'd argue that if things were going off the rails, he's like, oh shit, things are going down in crypto and we're going to announce tariffs. And this is a risk-on asset. We're going to fucking cream crypto. So, like, let's just let them know that we're doing this. Like, let's stabilize. It kind of works. Like, they're mostly stabilized in a reasonable place. I actually am excited about a bunch of the crypto policy on Trump. He's clearly leaned into having clarity, which means we can do a lot more than just crazy meme coins.
But has he? Like, I don't disagree, but just it's been a lot of talk.
No, there's actually been action. Like the Wells notices that
there's been no laws passed.
But the SEC has actually changed their position and actually taken actions to, remove Wells notices from Coinbase, from several other major DEX exchanges, clarity on meme coins,
And it's changing how the behavior of the industry, because I can say firsthand that a lot of the projects we're involved in wanted to do things they were worried about. And they're like, okay, this seems like it's safe to do. So I think there is real impact already in the crypto industry. And I think more clarity will come and it'll be actually good. I'm actually quite positive on that. The reserve stuff, if you follow it on Twitter, all the serious people looked at the reserve stuff and are like, this is a little wonky. Like, this is not like the best, right? Like, people are not thrilled with the Trump coin as a meme coin because like it's a bad look for the industry. This kind of Saturday, Sunday Trump make rich move did not make people feel super great. And like people were like, this is a little bit random. It's kind of like, the government saying they're going to buy Microsoft stock. And it's also like one of those things where like, if you think about the bigger macro on this, the US still is, we might not be there forever, but it's currently the reserve currency of the world. So like the reserve currency of the world being like, well, we're going to like buy some other reserve currencies is like kind of weird, right? Like, it's not, look, I mean, I've argued on Twitter, we also have a strategic cheese reserve. So like, what's the harm? But like, I think the reaction was like, good, Trump's serious crypto. Maybe some real good things happen, but this felt a little janky to me.
The good news is we now have a price on what Trump, the influencer, will cause in terms of a bump in the market. Like, that's the thing that I kept thinking about is like, crypto is so reactive to weird newsy things. And so it's an interesting pricing moment to see this bump and that, it sucked right back out.
I mean, it did suck immediately back out, right? So it really was a one-time Trump make rich. But I would say that I don't know. I think like the thing that's going to happen is it's not like the type of thing you can just play that game over and over and over. I think you need like escalating seriousness for anyone to care. So like the next tweet from Trump will have, if this one moved Cardano 40% because no one thought it was an important thing and it's not, but it happens to be heavily traded and whatever, like next time it will have half the effect, right?
Yeah, no question. I guess that's my point, Sam, is that like what you saw was actually an influencer bump in the crypto market that has no systemic effects. And it actually kind of showed the resiliency of the system, in my view.
That's the question of the year. Is Trump make rich or Trump make poor?
Well, and do you have your bet is make rich?
I have no idea.
Yeah, I think the honest answer is who knows? Buckle up is still the answer.
Trump make volatility.
Trump make rich and Trump make poor.
Volatility. That is going to be the theme of my women's conference this year, by the way.
I like that.
I know. I feel like the men would be engaged. They would watch the snippets.
Well, you know what they say? They say chaos is a ladder, my friends. Chaos is a ladder.
Chaos is a ladder. No, yes, that's great. And we had a great AI event last week too. Speaking of events, we went very deep. And from data centers, Vinod was there doing his talking points about how AI is going to replace everyone. He really won't deviate from that. Really believes it.
So, have you guys heard this new crazy theory? Like I think like the Top Gun theory, like where you hit on the brakes and they fly right by. You remember that scene in Top Gun where they hit the brakes and they fly right?
Of course.
So, like, there's now very expansive theory about how the strategy of Trump is to like jam the brakes on the economy, like going into the AI revolution and accelerating out of it. So basically, we're gonna like fuck the economy to like give people the cover to like cut costs and rationalize everything and like fire everyone just in time for AI to take over, and then we're gonna rip on AI. That's like the most out there theory I've been hearing on the internet recently, and I'll call it the Top Gun theory of the economy management, which sounds fucking crazy, but who knows?
It's also one way to lower the cost of your debt payments.
Well, that's exactly part of the theory is that they're going to you can refinance the debt. So you basically like intentionally destroy the economy to like wipe the debt, and then you restart it with AI and a cheaper basis.
Even without AI, it's a great way to refinance your debt payments.
Look, 100%, right? And so this is like it's a crazy theory, but it's one of those things where like if you're a very smart person in like the movie Top Gun Maverick and think you have a lot of control, you might be crazy enough to just try.
Sam, what I'm stuck on is you just referred to the AI revolution as in something you believe in.
Oh no, that's what they are saying.
Okay.
They're saying that. And for what it's worth, I do believe you. The thing I think you can fire all the customer service people. The only miscalculation is those people do not work in the US. You're going to fire all the people in Indonesia.
It's true. And all the labor. Yeah.
In Philippines and India. I mean, Sam, is this related to the conspiracy theory that like the government already knows that AGI exists and therefore that's what all the decisions are being made around?
I haven't seen that one in my feeds yet.
Yeah, that's the one I saw this morning was that we know that AGI is happening, and so all the decisions being made by Doge and everyone are based on that.
So here's the thing. I think we know it's happening. We all know is not we know shit or any truth is reality in that. But I would totally believe that there's a bunch of people, maybe like Elon, running around who so fervently believe that they will manage to that, whether or not it's real. And that is the other theme of the year beyond volatility, which is narratives rule everything. It's all narratives.
The narrative, the volatile narrative. In some other news, guys, we talked about some deals starting to happen.
Yeah.
Little M&A.
And IPOs. Discord is now going to go out for an IPO this year.
I saw Phantom bought something.
Well, CoreWeave is in talks to buy Weights and Biases.
They basically confirmed it today.
It was a $1.7 billion spending spree, says the information.
We got Lucas and Yanda. Remember Yanda?
Yanda's there. I didn't know that.
No, I'm not sure he's still there, but he was there for years as COO. And good old Lucas from Crowdflower, which there's some sweet justice to, right? Because Lucas's first company was effectively crowdsourced platform for like data entry and all that stuff before that was the cool kid thing to do, before Mechanical Turk. He built Mechanical Turk before Mechanical Turk. And I think it did okay, but like never really was a huge home run that it could have been, even though it was kind of almost a hot darling. And so now Lucas has a big ass win in the being ahead on the AI version 2.0. So go Lucas.
There you go. And CoreWeave, I'm sure all the listeners of the pod know CoreWeave, but CoreWeave is one of the biggest cloud server providers to AI companies, huge partner with Nvidia. Basically, if you're not one of the big guys in building your own infra, you're probably using CoreWeave. And even if you are, you're probably using CoreWeave in some way too. So the IPO, which is pretty soon, they've done most of their filings, is going to be a big barometer for how people feel about AI, how public investors feel. So
we can say, Trump make Lucas rich.
Oh my goodness. Sam has a bit, guys. He's got a bit. Yeah. Well, let's see. What else? Should we go to sports and talk about Indian Wells this weekend?
Well, there's also one other deal I noticed that I think is worth talking about for a second, which is The Brit, remind me what the name of the company is, but the massage robot company raised a massive round. And there's also several other robotics companies in the last 2 or 3 weeks. Like the robotics kind of later stage funding hype seems to be taking root.
It's Escape, but with an A on the front of it.
Escape.
And you can get a custom spa-like massage by a robot for only $60.
Okay. Well, have you had it? Is it good?
It's only in New York right now.
Apparently Four Seasons is going to roll it out. The people I know that have done it, I did get people mentioned it to me at its Series A. It was too far gone for us to invest. But the people who have experienced it say it's great. And, they're doing the typical robotic strategy, which is train the robots on a lot of data for the specific purpose. In this case, massage therapy. And apparently it works really, really well. And so, this comes on the heels of, there were several other very large robotics deals in the last 2 or 3 weeks. And my question is this real, or are we just is this like AI bleeding over into hardware and creating a hardware AI bubble?
Yes. But some of it will be real. Like I was talking to someone about VR and AR and just its arc. And they were, they had an opportunity to run a big VR company 10 years ago or something. And they were saying at the time it was like 50 years out, and now it's still 50 years out or something like that. And it was like kind of true, but kind of not true, because the markets just kind of grow slowly along the way. And some of these markets aren't going to look like the big consumer internet market and take over the world as technologies in the same way that, internet technologies have. But I think they're still showing real progress in real use cases. And I think robots will probably do that. And that's why the demos that like claim to do it all are fine. And I understand why people do them, but they kind of set the wrong tone, I think, for like where these areas of the industry are going.
Yeah, it's like the big one is what I believe it's called Figure AI. And these guys are up, 15x in a year.
I mean, if I have to see one more of these robotic dog demos that don't work, I'm just going to laugh. I don't think that's Figure AI.
But the massage one kind of makes sense from a cost standpoint, right? So,
but how big's the market?
I think quite large. I mean, every luxury hotel and spa has massages. They're probably average price like $400.
But if I'm in a luxury hotel, I don't want a robot.
You're probably paying the massage therapist $100 per massage. And they're probably doing like 5 of those a day. And there's probably 5 to 10 massage therapists. So it's like $2,500 to $7,500 a day.
Look, unless the robot is super hot, they're going to be able to charge less anyway. Like, it's just like,
I don't know. I think it's like Waymos. I think sometimes massage therapists are creepy and you don't want to talk to them and you just want like a good deep massage.
But just since I'll engage for 1 second before I go back to tuning out, is you are not going to be able to charge versus a massage therapist for the robot massage. You're going to be able to charge for the cost of electricity, because it's not like because everyone will fucking build them and all of a sudden massage will cost $12. And if anything, if you're the fucking Four Seasons, you want the massage to cost $500 because it's a premium experience. And the $100 you pay to the massage therapist actually just allows you to charge more. So like the economics, like no one is it's like kind of like having like, it's kind of like saying that because there's the airport massage chair thing you put a quarter into, that like you're going to be able to get someone to pay like $500 for that, because it's just not going to happen.
They're way more expensive than a quarter, but that's fine.
No, but you could probably increase the room per night value, because a lot of times now people are putting like wellness things in the rooms themselves or saunas in the bathrooms. And Equinox is one of the hotels that's starting to offer these. I feel like you could upsell.
Can I go crazy for a second? Jess is going to be so upset if I go there. Can I go crazy?
Yeah.
It's been a week, Sam, but if you must go there, you must go there.
We got to give the people what they want. Here's the way that you can make massage robots work. Just turn them into straight sex workers, right? Because you're just like, that's clearly the answer. Is like, if you're just like, look, the thing that the Four Seasons cannot sell me is sex.
Sam has a bit, Jess.
Everyone's got their bit. You know what? We're in a narrative-led world, and for better or worse, this is Sam's narrative. Take that for what it will.
Isn't this what Rogan and Elon talked about?
Has that dropped yet?
No, yeah, they talked about it.
That's the only place I could see it working. And is robo sex workers.
When you have like a Vision Pro on, so you see a really beautiful woman, but then it's a robot.
I don't know. Women are less visual, so I don't know if it needs to even have the part.
Okay. So Dave, has Offline done any robotics investments?
We look at quite a few. Yeah, we've got a lot of robotics projects in our studio right now. And so it is something we're looking at, but it's hard to think about where the real value is.
Have you been pitched any robo sex workers?
No, not yet.
I'm shocked. Why hasn't anyone pitched that?
You want to incubate that with us, Sam?
It's not insane.
Okay, great. Before we wrap, important business. Brit, I need your RSVP to my surf weekend. Okay.
Here's the problem, Jess. I got an email from you and it said, Brit, we're going on a girls' surf trip and we're going to be on an intermediate surf break. And I thought to myself, but what if I'm not an intermediate and I've actually haven't surfed in a few years, but I'm a really good big boogie boarder?
Yes.
So then where do I go?
First of all, you always say yes. This is important. It's 2 nights. Dave can cover the kids.
I got you, Brett.
Most important thing is when I say intermediate, I like to call myself a professional intermediate. Because I'm intermediate at a lot of things. And that basically ranges from like surfing. If you can stand up on a surfboard, I think you're kind of like beyond beginner. So we call that intermediate. And then also like I'm an intermediate who surfs surf ranch. So it's a whole range. And what I left out is there are 2 surf breaks at this amazing place. So there's one that depending on the day might be like shoulder high, maybe head high, far out, but you wouldn't have to go there. And then there's a closer one in if you just want to brush up on your skills. And there will be guacamole and margaritas. Did I mention that?
Oh, I thought you were going to say they're going to be hot male surf instructors.
There will be 2 hot whale surf instructors.
The hot male surf instructors, which are not robots.
Non-robotic male surf instructors.
They will be great. We're the world-class surf team, only the best. Great margaritas and guacamole. And there'll be poker.
Oh, okay. So that I'm for sure in on that. And there was a line about just like having lazy conversation with girlfriends. So that sounds good too.
That's true. But I should have really sold it with the margaritas and poker.
Just out of interest, is this the trip that if you don't get enough women, then I get to come on?
Yep. But that's why I'm really roping in the women.
Sam's not going on this trip. I'm going on this trip.
So far, by shaming people on podcasts, I'm getting my attendance up. So we're good.
I'm in.
It's going to be great.
We're back to Sports Corner.
There will be swag. I'm so looking forward to this. This is one of my favorite places to surf. And I'm not even going to tell people on the podcast because then they're all going to go.
No, we don't want trolls.
No. Okay, friends. Well, I'm glad we looked back this nostalgic week to the again week.
Wait, Jess, isn't there more sports this weekend?
Oh, there's more sports this weekend. I forgot. Yes. There is Indian Wells, which is my favorite sporting event of the year.
And actually, I was thinking about it and did some math while we were talking about our sports conversation at the beginning of the episode, which is one way to look at this is not actually in terms of the number of viewers, Sam, that you were talking about, 1.5 million viewers, is to actually look at the viewer hours, right? The people who sit and watch an hour, so that there's actually 4 million viewer hours per game. Of a live game, or if you guys go to this thing and spend your time, at the Indian Wells venue, if you do the social media numbers, it's actually only like 0.2 million viewer hours per game. And so, though you are getting a lot more people potentially seeing shorter clips on social media, they're not engaging with the depth that the actual live viewers are.
Well, or you could just, I think this is a very good point, Dave. I actually talked to someone who's on the board of the USTA about this, which is if you look at like the amount of time, the average session at like the US Open it's unbelievably high, right? And so they're being engaged. The interesting question is whether that's a cost or a benefit, right? Because the cost is like, okay, like my time is valuable. Like this is something I have against, I was thinking about this in terms of where do I spend lots of money? And I was making the point the other day that I spend so little money on entertainment relative to the other things I overspend. It's very hard to spend a lot on entertainment. And I was saying live sports is interesting.
But it depends on what you categorize as entertainment, right? Like, do you consider skiing entertainment?
Well, I consider that travel and adventure.
But aren't those the same thing? Like, I mean, I guess this is my question. In the era of AI, we're talking about the difference between a Four Seasons massage therapist that's a human and one that's a robot. We're talking about, this notion of I'm watching it live or I'm watching it, on social media for a 5-second clip. Like, is this the bifurcation of the economy where you've got this world where the robots or the people willing to make content for free on social media are providing you with this like very thin, very low engagement experience, which is kind of like sugar. Or you can go get the real thing and get the depth by watching the live event or, going to the live event or doing the live skiing.
I'm with you. I think it's probably have to continue the next episode, but like the thing to keep in mind is people do watch like 6 hours of TikTok a day, right? So it adds up in those little clips in aggregate.
But it doesn't add up to like 6 hours of TikTok does not add up to a long engagement with like a single story.
But the thing to keep in mind is, again, like the question is whether it's a cost or a value, because the thing that the social media does is it monetizes like waiting in lines. It monetizes like people are less angry at the airport because of TikTok, right? Because they just sit in their fucking seats and like doom scroll, and then they're like not angry about the time wasted. Whereas the interesting thing about going to a sporting event is you're investing not only the money, but a shit ton of like solid block time, which is very expensive, right? And so in some ways it has to pay for the amount of time. It's like why I don't go to football games. It's like there's too much time. It costs too much time to go to a 49ers game, to get there, fucking parking, blah, 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 right? So it's just a really...
So that's because you don't value the crowd experience, right? Like a lot of the people love being in that crowd, right? Because that crowd has a particular energy and they want to spend their 2 hours in that crowd.
I'm a pool house energy guy.
Yeah. Okay. Well, Indian Wells is going to be fabulous. Go Alcaraz. If any of the listeners are coming, I've got a party invite for you. So find me somehow. And what else? And we'll report back next week. Morins, what are you up to this weekend? Skiing?
Last weekend of skiing.
Last week. May there be another storm, huh? Anything on the horizon?
There is one, actually.
Okay. May powder be in your future.
Guys, by the way, before we go, I got to say, Packy McCormick has the tweet of the day about this iPad. He took Tim Tweak's quote. It says, introducing the new iPad Air. His tweet is, holy shit, they did it. Those crazy son of a bitches really did it. It's a great tweet.
Guys.
That's a great tweet.
By the way, I still don't have any contacts. Thank you to the people who now text me by saying who they are. Much appreciated. And Apple, I have a bone to pick. With that, we will thank the listeners for tuning in for another week. We appreciate you guys. Thanks to our back channel and all the folks who share and recommend. And we'll see you here next week for another episode of More or Less. Bye.
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 If you enjoyed this show, please leave us a virtual high five by rating it and reviewing it on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, YouTube, or wherever you get your podcasts. Find more information about each episode in the show notes and follow us on social media by searching for @MoreOrLess, @DaveMorin, @Lessin, @JLessin, and as for me, I'm @Brit. See you guys next time.